Hi, Manning here. Welcome to Dome Theory here on Saturday. It's looking like our group chat day, although the group chat's mostly missing. Nate, always available though. Join us, Nate Spurlin from the Cat Podcast, as well as Old Milk. He's at Old Milk 00 and at Old Milk Media. Just finished up his Travis Scott review, so I feel like we'd kick around. Travis dropping the first, I'd say, major album release of this year, Nate, like major that everybody is tuning in for. I'd say,
Um,
or at least
I don't know about major,
biggest.
like first major. You mean in hip hop or just like
Yeah, in
in
hip
general?
hop.
Lil Uzi exists.
You think that was as big as this drop?
Yes,
I saw you did
1000%.
275. My producer Amit's telling me.
Uh, Uzi
No, Travis.
trap. That's what he's on pace to sell.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's low.
That's low, huh? That sounds big to me. I'd have to look at
Yeah.
some of his
I mean, it's
other.
it's 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 big, but it's like imagine if levels. What I'm saying, like if Kendrick Lamar sells 200, that's a problem. Like he should be selling 300, 350, 400, and Travis is selling Travis in that 300 range. So I think that's pretty low.
I want to see what Astroworld did because the Astroworld release was ginormous. Yeah, you're right. 464 on Astroworld. So it looks like this one's going to come in well below that. I expected this album to be a step back for him, partially because the ones he did before were so groundbreaking and electric and hyped. But also, I haven't loved many of the singles, features, and overall work he's put out in recent years. And, of course, the Astroworld disaster where 13 people die, I think, at his festival, just was such a uh, step back for him, image-wise, and even just publicly. You didn't hear from him for a long time. He kind of fell out of making music, and I wondered whether he'd get back to any level of success after that. But this still ended up being a pretty hype project. I enjoyed listening to it overall. I didn't think it was the greatest album, but he, to me, is still an interesting enough artist where I'm always going to tune in and want to hear what he's doing because I think he's enough of a cutting edge artist aesthetically. I always think he's going to be taking risk, sounding different than most other artists, and getting some bona fide features, which he did again here, which was probably my favorite part of this album with some of the guest appearances here. So your review's out in full at 8. I'll have the people go to you
Aiming for
for your.
it is it is not uploaded yet. I will upload it after, but it is exported. It is
So
complete.
later
Editing
tonight,
done.
Nate's from full reviews out. But what was your first impression of this album?
Okay, so I've listened to it 3 times. First time, I didn't know what to think, honestly. Like I was listening to it. I understood that it was production on it is amazing. I don't think we can question the production of it on it. I think my main question going in was and this started on Astroworld too. I don't like when Travis just raps because he's it's much easier for me to digest a verse from him when he's dragging out those notes and playing with the auto tune and stuff like that. But rap, first of all, it's been 5 years. As you said before, we've gone through COVID. We did the Astroworld tragedy, Astroworld festival, that stuff. Like he's stuff, and for him to still have nothing to talk about on this album is concerning to me.
That's so
Um,
true. Not a
he doesn't
mention
say
of what
anything.
he's gone through over the recent years. Not
Yeah,
even one.
no, not at all. And it doesn't make sense to me at all. I mean, in hindsight, maybe there's like some type of gag order where he can't talk about it, but still, you could talk about how it makes you feel. Um, it, there's not really, if you're going into this album looking for relatability in terms of lyrics or substance or anything like that, this isn't for you. looking for great production, this album is for you. I think the production is. I come away from this album more impressed with the production and that Travis Scott actually says, or anything that Travis Scott, or the ways that Travis Scott does it. There's a lot of parallels to Kanye West in this album, but we break that down on episode 410 of the Cat Podcast coming out tonight. So overall, it's not a bad album. Is it Astroworld? I don't know. The one thing besides Topia Twins, I don't really think there's a hit. That's the big issue. There's no like smash for sure. This is going to be number one. This is going to be the song of the summer hit here. If there was said before, it would be Topia Twins. And also looking at the track list, you have Beyonce on here, you have Bad Buddy on here, you have The Weeknd on here, 21 Savage. Sure, it's a two of artists, and for there to be not really, not, for there to be not one true hit when you have these big names is a problem to me. I also think that just off of the feature list and the fact that it's Travis Scott alone, this album is going to survive. The record is just, it's just too many big names here for this album to not do well. My question is, one, is Travis Scott actually going to rap about something in the future? And then two, where does he go from here?
Leave it to me and you. Topia Twins was your favorite song?
Yes.
Wow, I couldn't stand it.
21
I thought
Savage.
he came
21
in.
Savage carried the whole song.
He did. He came in and carried at the end. I was just gonna say that. And Rob 49 doesn't do a ton on there, but he does just enough. And he has a few. He has a few like fun. I love the Birdman Lil Wayne reference. Stunting like my daddy. That was an awesome line. And like he was just in there for so short of a time. He's like in and out, and then it goes over to 21, who, like you said, rode that song out in a great way. But the chorus was terrible.
There's not really many choruses on the album in general. Like there's not many hooks. Like it's just like
and they're
verse
all
one,
underwritten.
interlude, verse.
The Fiend one was awful. Meltdown really fell flat. It wasn't anywhere close to. Well, I mean, it had a high bar coming in against Sicko Mode.
Okay, if you want to compare it to
Sicko Mode too, yeah.
If you want to compare it to Sicko Mode, I'm with you. But in terms of just an actual song, I believe the song with Beyonce, I'm forgetting it, or Echoes or something like that. I believe that is track 9. Meltdown is the only track that I like from tracks 1 through 8. I think if you start it with the Beyonce song and finish it out, it's a much better listen than if you listen to it from front to back.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think the middle section of the album was probably the strongest, and it got pretty strong as it went along right through the West Side album. West Side track, I'd say.
Oh, another comparison between Kanye and Travis Scott. They both have songs with good West Side Gun, good verse that West Side Gun I've heard from West Side Gun.
I was stunned to hear that from you because it was a pretty, it was a pretty raw, basic verse from him, and I just love his charisma and his voice and everything he brings to a track. He always brings his vibe and sound to a track.
I just appreciate that he's actually on beat this time.
Yeah, and I wasn't surprised, even though I just looked a few minutes ago and saw that Alchemist produced that song, which was probably my favorite song on the album for obvious reasons. And
Bobby Bias
he did come through strong. James Blake's always good with Travis. Again, I don't love the Drake song, but it's a strong one. And I actually like, you talked about Travis saying nothing on the album. Drake, I thought talking about the Vogue cover thing was pretty, timely.
Yeah.
At least.
Some shots at Pusha T and Pharrell, which were.
Yeah, I don't get that. And that's so Drake. Just turning around 5 years later and bringing that back up, like as if he's trying to reignite it. It's way too late. Knows Pusha's probably just not even going to interact with that. And he gets this glancing blow that is just irrelevant. So, again, I didn't love that song. I always like hearing them together because I think they have pretty good chemistry. As far as Drake goes, I think Travis is probably his best running mate. And
Future exists.
Yeah, Future is pretty good on this album too, I thought. Again, the features are really strong here. You know
Oh
who I
no,
actually was.
I'm disputing Travis being the best Drake pairing. Future exists, 21 Savage exists, Lil
Yeah,
Wayne exists.
it's close. The 21 one's tough to argue against now.
I mean, yeah, no, I mean, her loss is amazing. What a
Do you
time
still
to
go back
lie.
to the Future Drake album?
Not really. I
Yeah.
mean, in the first one, I wasn't as high on it as most people. I was really more so focused on, which is a classic.
Last one I got on this album before we go on to some other topics here. You know my favorite feature on the album, and West Side's obviously right up there, but the one that still sticks with me and really blew me away, can you guess?
I was gonna guess what I don't know now.
Tizo Touchdown.
That's
I thought
interesting.
he was
See,
incredible.
I think for what the role required, he did his job. I thought he was tremendous at the role that was required or was to him. But do I like the role, the description of the role? No, I don't.
He's had a pretty good run of features, and this one, energy-wise, and even just the mixing and the sound on it blew me away. And it was a nice change of pace on this album, too. Travis still does beat switches about as well as anyone, and that change of pace on that song, after, I think, 2 or 3 slow songs to start this album, things that really didn't pop, that moment on that song really blew me away with just all the vocal inflections and the production of it and just his energy on there. It was a pretty short verse, but it was so well done. I obviously loved him on the Tyler album. I think he's had
Yeah,
a
he was good
handful
on
of other
there.
features. He's a guy to watch for sure. And
Good
has he put
solo.
out an album yet?
I don't know about an album, but he has a few singles that I enjoy.
As far as some of these, well, he's 30. I'm not going to call him a young artist, but some of these newer artists, that newer style, he's definitely a guy I got my eye on. And
Yeah,
I'm excited
I'd
to
agree with
hear
that.
his album if he does come out with one. I was surprised
Yeah,
to hear him on here, and him coming away is one of my favorite features. So, I don't normally throw a number out here, but if I was going to, this is like a 6.5 to me.
6.5.
I don't think many people are going to remember much about this album going into the future.
I'm still trying to figure out where I concretely stand on this album. I don't know if I'm at a position to rate it yet. Give me a week.
All right. Well, tune in. He's talking about it over on the Cap. We'll link to it in the description to his channel. Down below, him and Taylor talked about it today. Did Taylor like it?
Yes. Well, I don't have to find out. He likes
right.
Fiend though. Let me not say that. Fiend makes him laugh, and he likes listening to it because it makes him laugh. So that's
I'm surprised. Yeah, this is good enough for me to still be interested in what he's going to do into the future. But overall, it is that step back that I expected. I think his head's just in too many different places at this point, and I didn't sense a strong enough hunger here either. And like you said, I thought that was your best point, was the lyrical, lacking lyrical content on this album. But a Kid Cudi feature and a Pharrell feature
didn't need
production-wise
that.
on that track really fell flat too, which was disappointing.
Did not need the Kid Cudi feature at all.
They've had some good songs together too in the past on Birds and on Cudi's album. So
Okay.
that one
What did you think
wasn't
about the
memorable at
Scots?
all. That was good too. I thought that was
No,
solid.
stop it. That was trash. Stop
It
it.
was better than Love here.
No. They
Cops
made this.
outside.
I remember
Walk
when
up
the
house.
yeah. No. I remember when it was first rumored to come. Everyone was like, first of all, I thought it was a collab album when it was announced, and
They're
then
still
it
gonna
drops
do
and
it,
it's just
I
a
heard.
single. Are they?
I think Cudi said they're still doing it. Yeah,
Is it supposed to be retired?
he's doing his
Go be
thing.
retired.
His last album was good. I thought you liked his last album, the Intergalactic.
I mean, Intergalactic.
Yeah.
That was for the
That's the
Netflix show,
Netflix
correct?
thing. Yeah.
It was alright.
Yeah, it was solid. I enjoyed it. It was a
I
different
would
style for
appreciate it
him.
if he enjoyed retirement, though.
I'm not there yet. I still want to see his tour, which he said will start midway through next year, I think. And I always enjoy seeing him live. I'm going to see Newport Jazz Festival next week. Anderson Paak's DJing, so I'm looking forward to that. And that's Utopia. Think it's worth a listen? Not my favorite album, but thrilled to have an album that was hyped enough for a lot of people to listen to and give their takes on here, because we really haven't had many of those this year, as I'm sure you know, Nate, especially in hip
Yeah,
hop.
no,
But
it's starting
baseball,
though. It's
before we get to baseball, this is a good
yes,
intersection. FanDuel, the official, an official partner of Major League Baseball, giving you up to $200 in bonus bets when you make at least a $10 deposit. Right now, that's FanDuel.com/Boston. MLB rolling along. It's a great stretch run about to get started here through August into September. Feels like the sport's wide open, so great futures odds. I actually want to pull those up on the MLB champions and see what they're thinking about on that front right now, because my Red Sox are rolling. I'm sure they're climbing up the board right now among potential winners. The favorite right now is still Atlanta, Nate. Dodgers making moves like crazy, coming in second at 450. Rays plus 650, would not bet them. Astros still in the
they've
mix.
been bad recently.
Yep.
They had that hot
Rangers.
start, and then they I'm sorry. I'll finish after you continue your plug. Apologies.
Rangers, Blue Jays, Orioles, Phillies, Twins. I mean, that's just wide open when you look at this.
Yeah.
Red Sox coming in at plus 5,000. So if you're feeling good about them and this hot stretch they're on, go over to FanDuel.com/Boston. Get up to $200 in bonus bets. Put it on that plus 5,000 for them to win the championship. Maybe they're going to get hot here and roll all the way. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. President Mass 21 plus. Hope Tier Gambling Helpline MA.org if you have a problem, or 800-327-5050. That's FanDuel.com/Boston, official sports wagering partner of CLNS Media. Dome Theory, Garden Report, all the way down the line. So let's talk some baseball here.
Yes.
Excited to do this. The numbers are good, Nate. You sent them along. Attendance up, which I've noticed just watching games and going to some games this year. Went to one in Seattle that was pretty packed. Fenway starting to pack a little bit more. It was pretty empty earlier in the season, but now that the team's getting a little juice, notice some more people going to the games out there. New York, all the rest, I'm sure, all seeing these little bumps. Even I saw the Rays midway through this year were opening up some upper deck space. That wasn't the case when I watched them a couple of days ago, but attendance is good. TV numbers doing solid. High in attendance, 2 decades, up 9%, biggest jump since 1998. The games are flying, by the way, Nate, which I think we'll hit on first. I was so excited for these rules. I thought they were overdue. They were trying them out in the minor leagues with the clock and everything. And I didn't think they'd be this dramatic. We were talking in the group chat about how you got to get to the games on time now. You're going to be showing up in the third or fourth inning. You look up and it's 10 o'clock for some of these 7 o'clock games, and they're already over, which was unimaginable even a year ago. And there's just such great pace and action to these games. The ball's in play for a number of different reasons. The shift being gone has really opened the game up. Average ticking up a little bit. There's just some real life and a little bit of juice, I think, as far as the stars go, but we'll get to that first. You didn't like the pitch clock idea. Have you changed your mind on that?
Mainly, I haven't really. I appreciate what it's trying to do in terms of speeding up the game. However, I think that it creates too much of a tipping of the scales towards the offense. Well, that's not really the pitch clock rules, mainly because of the rules about disengagement. Once you throw over twice, the runner's going, and I think it should either be more attempts by to pick off the runner at first or second or wherever, or just like getting rid of it altogether. That's one thing I don't like. I think that kind of ruins the balance of the game. But overall, the pitch clock has been great. I do think it needs to be used sparingly. I think it needs to be a level of situational awareness that goes with it. For example, I believe I think it was in Contreras who was getting welcomed home by the Cubs at Wrigley Field, and I forgot who it was. A player is being welcomed home, and the player gets a pitch clock violation. Who's supposed to step into the batter's box gets a.
I think Mookie said he's going to take one when he comes back to Boston next month.
And it's like, why do I need to be penalized because the home crowd or my former team's fans still love me? why should I get penalized for that? So like little things like that. I do recognize kind of some splitting hairs and in the weeds too much here, but just little things like that need to be ironed out, which I hope they do in the offseason. But overall, I will admit success. Yes.
It's funny, and I've heard some other people say this when talking about these rules, is might even be a little too fast, especially going to the park, because I never had any problem with the long games going to the park because, you're walking around, you're chatting, you're enjoying the night. There was no problem when it was 3-4 hours for that. TV, though, I want it boom, 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 out of these commercials, right through each half inning, and then you're done. 2.5 hours. Covering those games has been great, too, when I've had to write about the Red Sox so far, and they've been great, which helps, too. Last month here, I think they're the second best team in the league behind Atlanta. The offense is roaring. They're scoring 5-6 runs a game. Cassis is smashing the ball. Devers finding his swing. The offense is incredible. And even a guy I couldn't stand last year in Jarren Duran because skipped out on the Toronto series over his anti-vax stuff. That
Also,
was like when the
inside
that
the
was
park
when the team fell apart last year. The inside the park home run, which was
that he
I felt like
allowed.
my low point as a Red Sox fan when they lost like 24-3 or whatever it was to Toronto. He's been incredible, and I'll leave it here, Nate, because he gets on first. He's a great average hitter this year, and then he's stealing second, and he's stealing it every time. I think he's in the top 13 or so in steals with 23, and it's added this fun dynamic to the top of their lineup, and it really charges their offense because he'll get right into scoring position, which is another great rule change, the bases and all that to get the run game going. And then they're scoring if anyone gets a hit right after him. So credit to them, credit to Bloom, who I'm not a huge fan of, for sticking with him. He had to go down to AAA last year after that debacle, but he's come back with a vengeance this year, and he's been a really fun player.
Yeah. I mean, if your team is in any other division, they're probably closer to a wild card spot. But
Well, they're
we have
only a
to be
game and a
realistic
half
here.
back anyway.
Yeah. But we still have to be realistic here. And they're the best division in baseball, also in recent memory, honestly. Still don't see them making the playoffs. I got to be honest. I don't.
Who are your 3 wildcard teams? Toronto, the
Um,
Rays, and
the Rays,
Rays/Orioles.
Toronto, and the Astros or Rangers. Whichever one of those teams doesn't win NL West will.
You believe in the Blue Jays?
Yes, they hit better. They're probably the best. Kind of okay. Their defense is kind of okay, but in terms of putting the ball in the air or getting on base, they do that really frequently.
So the Sox, and
The hitting machine, Vladimir Guerrero is really, really good. I have the Blue over the Sox. I do.
this is going to be surprising to you. Do you know the Blue Jays' record against the Red Sox?
No, I don't.
0-7.
That's interesting. Okay. And they're playing 14. Are they playing 14 games this year?
I think they have
Or is
I
it?
don't know what the division number is, but they have a
Yeah.
series this week, I think. And the
Okay.
Jays did beat the Angels, which is a pretty big win for them. Both teams really need
No Mike
that
Trout.
series. Yeah, I don't know. The Angels making a run here, and they're going to keep Ohtani, but I don't think
That's
they'll be in play for a spot.
That's a bad decision.
Well, he's obviously the guy charging a lot of this, and there are some stars I think that are making a little bit of a rumbling. You know how I feel about it when it comes to the stars in the game now. I don't think that's as big of a factor of what we're talking about here, but there are some guys, like I thought Julio had some juice when I went out to Seattle. The fan base out there really seemed to love him. Ohtani speaks for itself. I mean, he had a complete game and 2 home runs the other day, and it's like he's just one-upping himself every week now with the ridiculous stuff he's doing.
I don't think it's close either.
Is he going to break Judge's record?
I think he can. I think right now he's on pace for 61.
Unbelievable.
So if not, he'll be one. According to the numbers, he'll be one short of breaking of tying the record, I should say. But
I'm impressed by the pitching too. ERA in the 3s.
I mean, I was trying to explain to you last year that he's a top 5 pitcher and a top 5 hitter in the league. Period. That's
some of our friends didn't agree on the pitching front. I think Lindo and Dan were like, "Yeah, he's got an average ERA."
They're Yankees fans. They were biased. And rightfully so, which was incredible. But If I asked them today, I'm sure they would agree with me.
We were kicking this around in my other group chat with the Garden Report guys. Should they take away Judge's MVP retroactively and give it back to Ohtani with what we're seeing this year?
No, I mean, again, like it's just two once in a generation things happening at once last season, with OT being able to be a top 5 pitcher and a top 5 hitter, and Aaron Judge breaking the home run record that was decades old. Like, two things we're probably going to see once. Well, we're seeing it twice because now Ohtani is gunning for that record. But at the time, I think that is thought of that would come close to 62, or we wouldn't see anyone come close to 62 for a long time. And Ohtani's clearly breaking that, clearly showing that that is an opinion, and it's possible to get to 63. So I'm very excited to watch him. I am a little concerned though because the last 2 games they have to take him out because he's cramping in his oblique. Hopefully he gets
Yeah,
to
he's
sit down
breaking
and get
down
some
a
rest.
little.
Yeah, I mean, he
Fingernail,
just needs some
hand.
rest because yeah, but like the hand thing it's just that's a pitcher thing. Like it's a blister or whatever, just heal, right? But other than that, I think he's good. The only issue is that they're probably not going to make the playoffs because one, Trout is hurt, and two, besides Trout and Ohtani, the rest of the team is trash.
Yeah, his stuff speaks for itself, and I still wish his stardom rose to the level of what he's actually doing on the field, because I still feel like he's a little understated with what we talk about with other stars here, and the marketing and everything else, his appearances in media, whatever it might be. He's still, I think it's gained traction this year a little bit just because of what he's doing, which is, there aren't even words for it at this point. Like, no
No,
one's even attempted to do what he's doing, and he's still doing it at the highest level possible. I know you said this, and I didn't like it at the time, but he is developing a case as the greatest player ever. I
no, he
think he's
is.
got a long way to go,
No, he
but
is. It's
he's
over.
on track. It's not
He
over.
he literally a
He couldn't
complete game
retire
shutout.
today and say he's the best
Wait. Hold on,
player
hold on,
ever.
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. He literally pitched a complete game shutout, one hit, and then in the name of a doubleheader, hit 2 home runs. He hit more home runs than he allowed hits. He's the best ever. Period.
Is he better than Bonds?
Yes.
Is
Did
he better
Bonds
than
pitch?
Aaron?
Did he pitch?
It doesn't matter. It's the
Yes, it
totality of
does.
the
It
impact.
literally does. It literally does. Yes. My answer to any of your questions is going to be, did he pitch? And besides Babe Ruth, your answer is going to be no.
So you got Babe over him?
No.
Babe's like the Bill of baseball, isn't he?
What do you mean by that?
Just in terms of, like, he's got all the actually no, maybe he's the Wilt of baseball, because the numbers are just
Okay.
ridiculous
Yes.
through the roof,
That's
and
accurate.
everyone's like, yeah, he did in the 60s and in
See,
Blue's
when you
case the
said Bill,
10s.
and this is how much PTSD I have from you talking about Bill Belichick. And I was like, where are you going with this Babe Ruth, Bill Belichick reference? Like, I don't see it at all.
One more thought on the Sox.
Okay.
They're so much more interesting than the Patriots, just from going to Pats camp
Here
where
we go.
I was bored to tears. There's one interesting player on the Pats to me, Matthew
Who
Judon,
is
who I
that?
think is
Okay.
exhilarating, who would have fit right in on those championship teams, and instead he's had to play with the biggest bums since 1999 in New England.
So what I'm hearing is that you're saying Mac Jones is a bum.
No, I have a little faith to him, but again, it's so hard to follow up Brady because everyone's waiting for a guy to join the upper echelon of the league. And, I think he's middle of the league, which is solid. I thought his first year was
Bottom middle.
awesome.
Bottom
Well, yeah,
middle.
last year, that's where he was for a number of reasons.
If he could move, be higher on him, but it's just the fact that he's a stationary target.
Yeah, he struggles against pressure, but he doesn't have weapons. And you need weapons who can get open if you're going to have a line that's a little deficient. And,
I guess.
at
Yeah,
camp, they were
that's
swapping in
true.
names left and right. Their receivers, their whole supporting cast around him offensively, honestly, just lacks pop. Like, has Devontae Parker ever been a guy you look at and say, like, this is a number one receiver?
I'm a give your point more juice. I don't even know who that is.
You don't know Devontae Parker from the
No,
Dolphins?
no.
He was like the
I've heard the
lob
name. I've
catcher for
heard the
them.
name, but if I've sat down and I would be lying to you if I sat down and watched Booker highlights.
Who else we got here? Bourne. didn't really play last year. It was
Don't
decent
know
a
who
few
that
years
is.
ago.
This is
Who
this
else we
is this is
talking
like when I try to tell you about new rappers and you're like, who is that?
about? Gasicki?
Okay, he's good.
Yeah, he's okay.
He's good.
Here we go.
Stop talking
They're saying you
football
don't
with
know
this.
ball.
No, I don't know Patriots because why?
Yeah, we'll
I'm a
get to
Bears fan.
football. Anyway, baseball is in a good place. I think they have just enough juice this year. I'm going to keep following. And in fact, Nate, from what I hear, we might start covering it a little bit here at CLNS down the stretch run
Ooh.
as the Sox try to make the playoffs. And you know what? I think if they make the playoffs, they're as likely as any team in the AL if they fill some of these holes to win
I
the
mean,
AL. It's wide open.
because of my belief in the randomness of baseball the playoffs, we saw the Washington Nationals win a championship recently, and they were trash for like the first half of the season.
And remember, a couple years ago, even if we run up against the Rays, Cora kind of pantsed Cash in that series. I think it was 3-1.
Pants is crazy. That is crazy.
I think it was 3-1.
I don't remember. That would be for you.
All right, well, that's our baseball segment here. We're going to talk
Yes.
a little Jalen before we get out of here because I did want your thoughts on his presser and his
Mhm.
extension.
Yes.
First, we will talk about AG1, longtime
All right.
friends of CLNS Media, as well as the Garden Report. Love them. Been using them daily for about a year now. It's just a scoop in your water each morning, and you get your 75 vitamins, minerals, adaptogens, probiotics, and more. That's all there is to it. It's everything you need to feel energetic, to get all the ingredients you need for your health. And it's at drinkag1.com/garden. You'll get a year's supply of vitamin D. I actually don't think I need that after my camp sunburn, but I'll keep them in tow for the future, for the winter here. And
Are you
5
guys stranded in the woods or
free
something?
AG1 travel packs. What's that?
Stranded in the woods or something?
No, I was at training camp, Patriots training camp, and just got torched by the sun yesterday, which was not fun. And I don't think I did. It didn't work. I think I just sweat all of it off. But anyway, drinkag1.com/garden. Get everything you need for your health over there. There's cool gear as well when you subscribe. But with drinkag1.com/garden, you're supporting the Garden Report, Dome Theory, CLNS, and you're going to get yourself year's supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. That's drinkag1.com/garden. All right. I don't know. Did you watch the press conference? Jaylen Brown
No.
signing his
What
$300 million deal.
What are the spark notes of it?
Sounds happy to be here.
Okay.
It said, he's taken on the pressure of this deal. It's obviously the largest deal in NBA history.
Mhm.
He's going to make $50 million a year, almost $70 million by the end of it, which is mind-blowing and hard for people to fathom. He's not – where would you rank Jalen in the NBA? I'm interested in your take on that.
He's not top 10. He's not top 15. Might be top 20. But I'll give him top 30.
All right. And there's some
Top
people
30.
who feel even lower than that just because of the lack of playmaking. Defensively, he's been rough for a couple years on that end, which I think is something he's going to have to tighten up the most. And a lot of that's just going to be effort and intensity in the system that they play.
He
Because I
also
think
needs
he's
to have a
best at
left
locking
hand.
down a guy one-on-one. Yeah, and everyone wants to make that stupid joke, which won't stop
No,
flying around.
it's like I don't know if I could pay someone $304 million if they can't dribble. That's a problem.
So everyone remembers the Miami series, and rightfully so. The Game 7 was tough. If you're going to be a supermax guy. The finals, he was great. You don't remember his finals? Everyone was saying, oh, well, everyone did. Save for Smart, who's gone now.
Yeah, my point though. Like for you to be the highest paid player in the league, you have to be at least top 10. And I understand it's not. It's just because he's up right now.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, they weren't as good as I remember.
Yeah, no, he
23,
was fine.
7 and 4.
Yeah, that's fine. That's not good.
3.5 turnovers a game or so. Yeah, he shot 43%.
For a $300 million contract, that's fine or great.
So let me rattle it off.
Okay.
elite mid-range shooter. That's where his game really took a next level last year. He was shooting like
Mhm,
Durant from the mid-range for a lot of the year.
mhm,
Incredible driver, especially against like the best rim protectors in the league. He'll just kind of body them out of the way and finish
mm.
through them.
Can't go left. Can't say incredible.
Fair enough. And transition statistically, he's right up there with Giannis and LeBron and some of the best guys in that aspect. And I think there's a real like fire and urgency to his game too that this team really needs. But the defense, the left hand, as you like to say, and the passing are real weaknesses. I mean, he's typically giving away a turnover for every assist he commits, which is fine if you have some other guys handling the ball, which this team does. It's just, again, the scrutiny on him is going to be a little higher at 300
Yes.
million. And
Yes.
that's the problem here.
He's for the Celtics to work, he needs to be a number 2 option, and he's being paid like the unanimous number 1 option in the league. And problem. Um, I don't know. I get it. You have to give him the money. I get it that he's up right now, but it's just like looking at it from a basketball standpoint, from a team standpoint, from an NBA standpoint. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm not trying to say that he doesn't deserve it because he's earned it. He's worked his whole life for it. It's just weird when we have like other players who are better than him, making like in the high hundred millions, but still like
Well, that's the thing. When you think of the guys who make this money or sign these types of deals, so far I think it's Jokic, Curry, Westbrook, and Harden were two of the early guys who signed it.
Lillard.
Uh, Lillard got it. Beal got it. He might be in the Beal range. Beal category of players. I
That's
think they're
not,
pretty similar in terms of their standing.
but that's not good. That's just not good. That's not gonna get the job done.
As far as scoring goes, it is, but similar to Beal, he needs to find other parts of his game that can
I
impact the
mean,
Celtics.
additionally, like when we're even talking about I've never heard as delusional as you may be about the Celtics, Bobby. I've never heard you say Jaylen Brown should be MVP. Never. Like I've never heard you say that. Heard you say that he's first team, and depending on the day, he may deserve it or not. But he's not even like he's not a player where you get him on your team and your team is automatically in the playoffs.
No, and that's always been the debate. And he hinted at being able to lead a team like that. Yeah, showed more stuff he's capable of. And
Maybe vocally, but
yeah,
I don't know about like on the basketball court where like yo we got Jaylen Brown, we're winning this game.
well, it showed against the Heat in that game. Tatum goes down and he couldn't carry the torch, which I think is the toughest look for this deal. That if Tatum did go down and he needed to carry the team, could he do it? He's done it against some bad teams and he's had 40, 50-point games in those situations. But so much of his game is predicated on scoring. I really want to see him at some point open up that playmaking side. And Ime really stressed it. He struggled with it. And that was honestly the turning point for this team, Nate, is I think those two both got their shots early that year while they were bad. Remember that first half they had where they were just
Yeah.
really struggling and inconsistent? They were trying to find whose team this would be. And Tatum took that torch because of his playmaking. And Brown had to, fit into the corner threes and the cuts and the transition runs and some of that ancillary stuff. And that's what, ends up making him the number 2 option on this team. So, yeah, you're right. I think if he did have his own team, those shortcomings would really shine. But as a second option, I mean, these guys are right now rivaling Jordan and Pippen in terms of 30-30 games and Shaq and Kobe. So like I don't want to get too low on this either because I think that's the
Mhm.
general perception off a bad loss is, damn, he's making a ton of money. I don't know if he's worth this. You had to pay him this to keep him, or else he might have
Yeah.
looked at other situations or gone to free agency, whatever it might be. And I think that's what people don't realize. And as
I
far
mean,
as just
also like just with the how the league is right now, he might still do that. I don't think this changes anything.
Well, they have him for 6 years now, which is pretty solid in terms of like if he did start like thinking about that, they might have to make a move in their own right anyway. Because I think if they're winning, he'll be fine. If they're
Mhm.
losing, I think they're gonna look at it probably and be like, all right, does this duo work? And I don't know. That's the big question. Could you trade this contract if they needed to?
Um. Wow. That's listen, Bob. Would another team take Jaylen Brown for $304 million? I don't think so.
It'd have to
Because the only
be.
way that you can make the money work is if you give up your best player and you're trading Jaylen Brown. Like if you're trading Jaylen Brown champion, or if you're trading for Jaylen to be a championship team, he has to be the second best player. Like I'm not going to give up. Say for just bear with me here. If I'm Portland and I'm building Damian Lillard, I'm not trading Damian Lillard for Jaylen Brown. And the only way that
I've
trade
heard
works
that too,
is if you trade Damian. That makes it a lot more difficult to move this type of deal, which maybe that's what the Celtics wanted in a way, overpaid to kind of get his trade value lower, or the ability to trade him make that ability better. But I don't know, like you're paying him all this money, you still don't even have a real point guard yet. What are we doing?
You're building around your 2 stars, which is something they really want to make happen here. They've gone to 4 East Finals in 6 years, so I get it, and they've been great during the regular season. But these playoff questions, their leadership, and their all-around impact on the game, I think, is going to have to expand into these deals because they're making more money, Nate. You know what that means? It's going to be less talent around them, especially in 3-4 years from now. Horford will be gone. Rob will still be sticking around, maybe.
How much
Porzingis, I don't know.
does
Maybe he's a short-term option.
how much time does Robert have on his deal? How many more years?
He's actually signed through 26, which is pretty good.
Okay, that's
at
good.
like $13 million a year. They got him on a really good deal.
You still have to figure out what you have Bogdan. What about Derek White? How long is he here for?
Through 25, so 2 more seasons.
Okay. It's looking
so
better.
They have a little 2-year window here.
Yeah, Horford, I mean, well,
through 25.
I don't know if Horford plays until 25 though.
I think
this might be that. This is your speculation. This might be looked in the playoffs and how gassed he looked. This might be
he had to do
year.
so much. Rob played. Yeah. You know how many games Rob played last year?
I don't.
35.
That's an interesting number considering who you got rumored to be trading Jaylen Brown for.
Who's that?
Kevin Durant.
Yeah. That was my dream. 5. And anyone who doesn't like this deal, I bet we're the same people who were last year saying, don't trade him for Durant.
You guys need
I don't think that deal
I don't know how many times I have to say it. You guys need a point guard.
You don't like Derek White after what you saw from him in the playoffs?
I mean, he's fine as a backup point guard, but as like a real table setter, setting the tone type of guy, no.
That has to be Tatum.
But Tatum is not a playmaker.
Yes,
and you know
is.
it.
He can pass out double teams. He struggles with orchestrating the offense, I think, but in terms of making the right pass and making some difficult passes, he's gotten so much better. I don't know if he's the guy in that sense. He's not Jokic, certainly. That's a high bar as far as being the best guy in the league at it. And everyone wants to talk about Chris Paul, even though he's 38 at this point.
Let me think of a better example. I'm trying to think about like the most basic average point guard in the league.
Brunson.
Okay, I maybe Brunson is a little higher than I expected. For what I'm going, I think Jason Tatum has the playmaking skills of Jalen Brunson.
Close.
Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, how many assists did he average in the playoffs? I think he probably had close to 6. He's getting better. Again, Tatum's 25.
He is getting better. I'm not denying that he's getting better. I'm just saying that I think it would be better for the team if Jason Tatum just scoring.
Right. Well, that would have been a case for Lillard coming in.
Yeah. And even then, like Lillard still
Lillard's a 7 assists a game guy.
Yeah, but he wants to score. Let's be honest.
Everyone does so in the league, don't they? There's no guys left just looking to pass.
I mean,
even Jokic, he balances scoring 30 with 10 assists, which is why he is who he is.
Jokic scores when he has
to be able to create your own shot.
He literally said it in an interview. When I'm open, than that, I'm trying to pass the ball.
Well, that's why the game's the game here.
Yeah.
Jalen also in this press conference, I wish I had the sound. I should have pulled it up here, but I'll read the quote. Said, asked what he's going to do with the $300 million, because, of course, he's so involved in the community, has his Juice clothing line, which in turn works toward his Juice foundation. He did the press conference, Nate, at his bridge program, which is at MIT. I think the last 3 summers he's done it there. Has local high school kids come in, black and brown high school kids from Boston, learn about STEM, technology, math, have a whole program, mental well-being. They do yoga, all the rest. They've done it at MIT for a couple of years now. It's gotten bigger and bigger. A$AP Ferg came through and performed on the last day. They did the press conference at MIT on the last day of this. They had all the kids there. They had what's his name? The guy from the Olympics there who did the Black Power, John Carlos, who introduced Brown. It was a pretty cool ceremony. He signed it right in front of everybody. And again, one of the first questions he got asked was what he is going to do with the $300 million, because, of course, his off the court, social justice pursuits are such a big part of who he is. And he said he wanted to bring Black Wall Street to Boston. And that's his goal. That's his aspiration. He's going to try to bridge the wealth gap in Boston, which he noted is among the highest in the U.S. And last couple of weeks here, we've seen him open up a court in Boston, talk a lot about the bridge program, and education's his big thing on that front. And I find the Black Wall Street invocation very interesting. I think a lot of people have learned about that over the last couple of years here since Black Lives Matter and all that, what happened in Oklahoma, a century ago. I like the idea. It's going to be a challenge in Boston. It really is. And again, not for the reasons
you've ever admitted that.
No, not for the reasons you always talk about, Nate. I think what they're doing right now in Boston, I think is pretty disgraceful in terms of cost of living and affordability. And one of the big things that just got announced is around Fenway. They're doing this massive Patriot Place style business center, expensive apartments, high rises that are probably going to cost $1 million to live in. And development like that just keeps shooting Boston's cost of living through the roof. I mean, we talk about it a lot, Nate. Boston costs as much to live in as New York City, pretty much. And it's not because there's the allure of New York City or the draw of New York City. It's just, I think the housing planning and the policy on that front's been so poor. And so when he talks about bringing Black Wall Street to Boston, I think it's going to be difficult because the cost of creating a business, the cost of having space in a storefront in Boston, or even just kind of places to run your business or have that kind of community is just so extraordinary right now, and it's going in the wrong direction instead of the right. And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for him on this front. I'm so curious how he's going to do it. Obviously, he's got great support in the Celtics, who I think do a lot for businesses locally. That's been one of their big things in recent years, is promoting small businesses. Brown himself runs a small business here in Juice, and even they have struggled to find a storefront. He's talked about that, just kind of the tough challenge he's had in finding an open door to walk through and have a stable ground for his business here in Boston.
Yeah. The Wall Street thing is interesting to me but just from a different perspective, just understanding my completed minor in African American studies, and understanding how capitalism is linked to exploitation, and more times than not, 99% of the time, people that are being exploited are black. It's kind of counterproductive. I've heard so many different rich black people say, yeah, we're trying to give back to the community, invest in the community, et cetera, et cetera. But realistically, just understanding what capitalism is and what it's based in, I don't of black prosperity coming out of that system because the system is designed to keep black. So like I can't expect a system to do the opposite of what it's designed to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I get that perspective. His big thing's always been the education front, though. Like, coming from Atlanta, he always talks about the education deficiencies he saw, and even just kind of how people were separated in their classes, based on how smart they were, whatever classifications they had. Like, he got told in school he was going to be in jail one day. Stuff like that is really what he wants to change, because he sees being able to achieve a higher level of education as being able to improve your social standing, which
I
I
mean,
do generally agree with.
that's how it should be. When we understand loans and all that other stuff, that's just not realistic right now. There are so many people who have graduated from college who are making minimum wage, and they have to pay loans back, and they have like so many other expenses that they're not able to afford because of how it's set up right now. So, I world, yes, it makes sense. I'm with him 100%. I do think he should be more realistic though, because again, like I'm a black, like I'm not living the American dream as you would expect from any type of college graduate. And you could say, like, you could speak to it yourself. Like, you're a college graduate as well. Are you living the American dream right now?
Not quite.
Exactly. So,
But we're
I,
still
I,
25.
yeah, but still, like, I appreciate uh, the yearning for more for Black people. I just think it needs to be more realistic. Because if it's actually going to get done, it has to come from a place of realism, not idealism.
Right. And I've seen him making stuff move on this front at least, which, again, it's you're not going to move mountains overnight. There's, I think, small steps he's taken that have made a huge difference, just in terms of actually, I talked to Dart Adams a lot, who's pretty active with this stuff in Boston, in terms of just shining a spotlight on Black businesses in Boston, Black people and neighborhoods in Boston, stuff that's not commonly depicted in the media and in pop culture. He's been able to draw attention toward that stuff, which isn't commonly publicized. And I think that even makes a difference, because he just has such a pull with his name. His presence is always going to attract media, for whatever reason it might be, that they want to be there. If he's somewhere, they're going to be there talking about it, covering it, and publicizing it. And, I've talked to him a little bit too about the business he has too, the juice brand,
Mhm.
which, is solid. I like the clothes. I like the hats. I like all that. It's a
They
pretty,
do look nice.
solid brand. He's, you know how these brands work. Like, it's like $100 shirts, and I'm sure the shoes are like $200, and it's just absurd prices. But he's talked about, he's taken the money from people who can afford those at high prices and getting that gear to the people who can't afford it, or getting that money to programs he's trying to run right now. So there is, from that sense, I think, through capitalism, which again we can all critique and not enjoy, but it's that system we're living in, so you have to work around it, because that's not going to change overnight either. He's able to get money from richer people who are buying this stuff and get it to the people who need some of the resources he's trying to provide to them. So him being this $300 million man and having the Celtics behind him, which is this multi-billion-dollar franchise, you're able to move around that wealth a little bit in Boston. He'll obviously have some political sway in Boston here too. So is he going to change Boston overnight? I don't think
No.
so, but I do like a lot of the ideas he has and some of the stuff he's trying to do from a business perspective to shake up the city a little bit here. Because one thing that I do think is moving in the right direction a little bit is Black business in Boston. I've seen a lot come
Mhm.
up over the last year or two here and have some success, especially in the heart of the city.
Yeah, I do want to go back to your having the Boston Celtics behind him. You're talking about him not being able to find a place for his business. He had the
This
Boston
is true.
Celtics. He had the Boston Celtics behind him before.
Yeah.
So like I don't see how that really makes a difference. I mean, he's what, like top 10 recognizable right now, maybe top 5. I'm not fully certain on that
I'd
front,
say
but
top 5 for sure. He's definitely one of the
they're
3 most popular athletes in the city, I'd say.
so that adds to my point more, that he, if anyone should be able to find a place for their business, it should be him. And the fact he struggled so much.
Yeah, it does, and he made that known through the process of last year and the negotiation and everything else. So I'm sure he gained some concessions from the Celtics in terms of support for this kind of stuff through those negotiations. I asked him about it. I didn't get a great answer on it, but he seems pretty happy to be here, which is a change from a couple months ago. I'm sure that was part of his leveraging. His agent did an incredible job getting him this deal, because the Celtics really could have played hardball on this, as we talk about, for all the reasons and shortcomings in his game, and he still came out with the largest deal in NBA history. So shout out to him. Shout out to Jason Glushon, who is his agent. And I think the Celtics are in a solid spot going in this year. What's your expectation from them before we get out of here?
Yeah, I don't have a point guard. Second round. I just think that you
To the Sixers?
Like, no. I'm not even trying to troll. Like, guys added Porzingis. That's another mouth to feed on offense, and you have nobody to set the table. Like, I've made this comparison again before. Like, you have nobody to set the table on offense. You don't even know who's buying the groceries or who's going to cook the groceries to feed the mouths of
That's
Tatum,
their biggest
Brown,
problem, easily.
Porzingis.
Yeah.
I think that kind of that whole could lead to more ego, bickering, lack of flow in the offense in general. I think that I think it's more likely than not that something between those 3 guys happens where the chemistry just isn't correct, because again, you have these scorers and nobody to set the table for them. Or Porzingis, I will put out this possibility. It's always a possibility. Maybe Porzingis ups his role. Maybe he's just there to play defense and rebound and hit the occasional 3. Which, if that's happened, perfect.
Hey,
I
get
don't
ready.
see that.
He's gonna be taking a lot more than the occasional 3. I could see him averaging 7-8 threes a game on this team, the way they played last year. And he's capable of that. So that's obviously what I'm most excited about next year, is seeing how he fits in here. Smart going is, I think, a real loss for them. And, we'll continue to preview that closer to camp. Baseball keeps rolling. We kick that around here. Utopia, not a flop, but just an okay album. I think we both agree on that. Nate's going to review that. Nate's going to review that in full tonight. Link in the description. Check that out with Taylor, one of our frequent guests here. I think we'll be doing this edition of Dome Theory every Saturday or so here. Going to get some more interviews going over the next couple of weeks here. There's been a lot of Celtic stuff we've had to cover, and that's going to slow down, I think. So we'll be able to get into some more interviews into August, I believe. So subscribe. Check us out here, CLNS, Celtics All Access. When we go live, make sure you have the notifications on for that as well. We're on all the podcast platforms if you want to listen to the audio edition. And Nate will always be here for the group chat edition. So thanks, Nate. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right.